On Saturday, Trump imposed tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China. Those tariffs officially go into effect the day this video is being published, Tuesday, which means we, the United States, are now in a trade war with, among others, Canada, one of our closest allies. And then, on Sunday, it was reported that individuals associated with the Department of Government Efficiency, Elon Musk's imaginary agency, empowered by Trump to slash federal spending, had gained access to the offices of the U.S. Agency for International Development, or USAID, access which they gained over the objections of security guards and other USAID officials. And Musk and his DOGE, I'm not going to say fucking DOGE, his DOGE cronies are currently in the process of shutting down USAID, which is the primary federal agency responsible for administering foreign assistance. So how was your weekend? I'm going to try to smash both of these stories together into a single video, so let me start with these tariffs. Why is Trump imposing tariffs again? He explained over the weekend in 2 posts to his Twitter knockoff website, Truth Social, because we have a president who governs via social media. Isn't it great? It's also great. First, on Saturday, Trump posted, quote, "Today I have implemented a 25% tariff on imports from Mexico and Canada, 10% on Canadian energy, and a 10% additional tariff on China. This was done through the International Emergency Economic Powers Act because of the major threat of illegal aliens and deadly drugs killing our citizens, including fentanyl. We need to protect Americans, and it is my duty as president to ensure the safety of all. I made a promise on my campaign to stop the flood of illegal aliens and drugs from pouring across our borders, and Americans overwhelmingly voted in favor of it." Americans didn't overwhelmingly vote in favor of it or him. He won the popular vote by 1.5%. He got less than 50% of the popular vote, and only 64% of eligible voters even bothered to vote. Also, fun fact, according to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, who might know more about this than Donald Trump, I'm just throwing that possibility out there, less than 1% of illegal border crossings into the U.S. are across the U.S.-Canadian border. And less than 1% of the fentanyl that comes into the U.S. comes through Canada. How about that? But hey, just because the reasoning for the tariffs, specifically the tariffs imposed on Canada, doesn't hold water, that doesn't mean Trump's tariffs are a bad idea. On Sunday, Trump posted this, quote, "The tariff lobby, headed by the globalist and always wrong Wall Street Journal, is working hard to justify countries like Canada, Mexico, China, and too many others to name continue the decades-long rip-off of America, both with regard to trade, crime, and poisonous drugs that are allowed to so freely flow into America. Those days are over. The USA has major deficits with Canada, Mexico, and China, and almost all countries, owes $36 trillion, and we're not going to be the stupid country any longer. Make your product in the USA and there are no tariffs. Why should the United States lose trillions of dollars in subsidizing other countries? And why should these other countries pay a small fraction of the cost of what USA citizens pay for the drugs and pharmaceuticals, as an example? This will be the golden age of America. Will there be some pain? Yes, maybe, and maybe not. But we will make America great again, and it will all be worth the price that must be paid. We are a country that is now being run with common sense, and the results will be spectacular. There's a lot there. Globalist? He still thinks trade deficits mean the other country owes us money? The usual ranting about how he's bringing about a new golden age for America, but I want to focus on 2 points that are buried in there. First, he says, why should those other countries pay a small fraction of the cost of what USA citizens pay for drugs and pharmaceuticals? And this says a lot about Trump's worldview, I think. His preferred solution to any perceived problem, really, is always to hurt rather than to help. Americans pay a lot more for drugs than people in other countries. What's Trump's solution to that problem? Does he try to make drugs here less expensive? Does he try to make it so Americans pay less? No, his solution is to try and make it so that everybody else gets fucked on drug prices just as much as Americans do. It's not, why should you have to pay more than everybody else? It's, why shouldn't everybody else have to pay as much as you? He doesn't want to help you. He wants you to feel good that he's making sure other people are hurting too. What a piece of shit. Second, did you notice the will there be some pain? Yes, maybe bit in there? He said this on a couple of other occasions lately too, when journalists have asked him about the economic impact of his tariffs. It sure sounds different from when he talked about tariffs during the campaign, doesn't it? Back then, all those 3 or 4 months ago. Remember when he talked about it then, it was, well, prices won't go up. Tariffs won't make things more expensive. American consumers won't have to pay for the tariffs. The countries targeted by the tariffs will pay for the tariffs, not the American people. Now all of a sudden it's, well, sure, there will be some pain, but people will understand, and it'll all be worth it. Trust me. It will all be worth the price that must be paid. But you said there was no price to be paid, Donald. It's like he took you out to a fancy restaurant and said, go ahead, order the most expensive thing on the menu. It's okay. They don't make you pay for it. And then you get the bill because of course they make you pay for it. You can't afford it. Actually, no, that analogy compares tariffs to a gourmet meal. I don't like that. That feels wrong. It's not like that at all. It's more like Donald Trump ran you over with his car and broke both your legs and told you, it's okay, I know this hospital where they treat you for free. And he drops you off at that hospital and you crawl your broken-legged ass into the emergency room, and that's when you realize that not only do they not treat you for free here, they only take cash. It's a lot more like that on second thought. Also, one last quick thing on these tariffs. The tariffs directed at Mexico have apparently been paused for 30 days, with Trump announcing via a post on Shitty or Twitter, where else, that Mexico has agreed to send 10,000 troops to the U.S.-Mexico border to assist in stopping undocumented migrants and fentanyl smuggling. And as a part of this deal, Trump has agreed to postpone the tariffs imposed on Mexico, and Trump supporters are all over social media declaring victory and hailing Trump as this brilliant, hard-ass negotiator who has gotten Mexico to fall in line. But people who aren't dipshit cult members are pointing out that 4 years ago, President Biden also got the Mexican government to deploy an additional 10,000 troops to the border, and also got Guatemala and Honduras to commit additional forces to help control migrants as well. Let me make it clear that I don't support deploying the military against migrants, no matter who the president is. It was fucked up when Biden did it, and it's fucked up when Trump does it. But I do find it interesting how Biden was somehow able to get Mexico and 2 more countries on board with his anti-immigration efforts without starting a trade war against the 2 countries we share land borders with. How did Biden do it? I bet it was Marxism. Biden was always doing Marxism. Moving on to the USAID story. Here's what's going on there in brief from NPR. From an article with the headline, Why Does Musk Want USAID to Die? And Why Did Its Website Disappear? By Melody Schreiber, originally published on February 2nd. Quote, it's been a tumultuous week for USAID. the U.S. Agency for International Development. On Saturday, sometime after 3 a.m., its website went down, according to the Internet Archive, a nonprofit group that tracks web pages. Some browsers display the error message, "This site can't be reached. Check if there is a typo in usaid.gov. The agency's account on X, formerly Twitter, has also been deleted. Early Monday morning, Elon Musk, speaking during a live space conversation on X, said his Department of Government Efficiency is in the process of shutting down USAID. On Sunday, Musk wrote on X that USAID is a, quote, criminal organization. It needs to die, he wrote. AP reported that workers at the Department of Government Efficiency were denied access to confidential documents at USAID on Saturday, and that the Trump administration subsequently put on leave the 2 USAID security officials who refused to grant access. Why is it a criminal organization? Why does it need to die? But it is, and it does, according to Elon Musk, who is definitely the person who should be deciding these things. Trump also said that the people running USAID were, quote, lunatics. Why? What are they doing that's so horrible? Just everything, I guess. Here's more on what went down at the USAID offices over the weekend from ABC News. Headline, Turmoil Inside USAID. Quoting from the article, on Friday night, a dramatic scene played out when a group of individuals who identified themselves as State Department employees and DOGE representatives arrived at the USAID offices in the Ronald Reagan building and demanded immediate access to every office, according to sources familiar with the incident. It is unclear what legal authority, if any, DOGE representatives have to make such demands. It looked like people who dressed up for their first job interview, a source said. After initially being denied entry, the group told security guards that if they were not granted entry, they would call the U.S. Marshals Service, sources said. The guards ultimately complied, the source said. And continuing from a bit further down in the article, when shown Musk's posts on X targeting USAID, a senior official for the agency told ABC News, the warp speed of this mafia-like takeover has shaken USAID staff to the core. We are not criminals. Where are Republican senators like Senator Graham and Risch, who have supported the good work of this agency in the past? Will they speak out? The official asked. Yes, USAID needs reform like all agencies, but we'd expect this to come with a degree of thought and involvement from Congress. USAID, again, that's United States Agency for International Development, distributes American foreign aid. It spends billions of dollars a year on assistance for people living in poverty, disaster relief, environmental programs, job training programs, and all kinds of other projects all over the world. Is it perfect? No. Foreign aid in general is often politicized, used to push American interests abroad in addition to helping those in need. But is it good? Yes. On the whole, it's good. It's a good thing we do. It's also not something that the president or his nebulously empowered cronies can just up and decide to shut down. USAID was created by an act of Congress. The money it spends is appropriated by Congress. And if Trump or Elon Musk or anyone else wants to shut it down or fold it into the State Department or do anything else to change the fundamental structure and operation of it, they need congressional action. So this is probably yet another attempted executive action of Trump's that is going to wind up in the courts, and we'll all get to watch and see if the courts decide to uphold the law or allow Trump to do what he wants, because those two things are almost always mutually exclusive. The point I want to hit with this, as with the tariffs, is more of a philosophical one. It also reveals the mindset with which Trump and Musk and all the greedy little aspiring tyrants that are now running this country are operating. I don't know why specifically Elon Musk has decided USAID is a criminal organization. I mean, the USAID mission in South Africa did help to end apartheid, and Elon is a South African white supremacist, but I'm sure that's just a coincidence. However, I do have a good guess why he and Trump are against foreign aid in general. They view everything as transactional. If the U.S. gives billions of dollars to other countries, that's not just a gain for those countries, it's a loss for us. We're giving money away. Why would we do that? That weakens us. So goes the thought process of a person with this mentality. As Donald Trump and Elon Musk see it, the United States owes the rest of the world nothing. To them, our wealth and power as a nation imposes no responsibility to use some of that wealth and some of that power to make the world a better place, to lift people up, which makes sense because that's how they view their personal roles as well. Success is an end unto itself, and you don't get successful by spending money, do you? And if you are successful and you do accumulate a lot of money and a lot of influence, well, that's yours. You're under no obligation, moral or otherwise, to share it with anyone, to use it to benefit anyone other than yourself. If you give your money away, if you use your power to help a person in need, to lift someone up, someone who can't give you something of equal or greater value in return, you're just letting yourself be taken advantage of. And again, I'm not saying the motivation behind foreign aid was ever purely humanitarian in the past. It definitely wasn't. But that recognition of a larger responsibility was at least in there somewhere. Not anymore. When I started this video, I wasn't sure how I was going to connect the imposition of tariffs with the attempted dismantling of USAID, other than that they happened at roughly the same time. But now it's pretty obvious, having talked about them both. Both events tell us how we should expect my country, the United States, to interact with the rest of the world for these next few years. Under President Donald Trump, who was narrowly elected, and Elon Musk, who wasn't elected at all, the United States is telling other countries, including our closest allies, that we don't need them and we won't help them. And if that sounds a little bleak, it should. When I was a teenager, I was arguing about something or other with my father. I can't remember what, but I was probably acting like a teenager, resentful, arrogant, and entitled. And Dad said to me, "Steve, the world isn't going to thank you just for being born." And he wasn't trying to put me down. He was trying to tell me that if I wanted to be well thought of, I had to earn that. Imagine how different the world would be right now if someone had taught Donald Trump and Elon Musk that lesson.